Hello, today me and Dennis will be reading to you The Emperor's New Clothes. And I will be playing the part of Choi Moon-ho, the therapist, Web and Veep, who are the stitchers, and I'll be the narrator for scene 1 and 3.
Hello, I am Dennis, and I will be playing Peter, who is the minister, and also Thoric is the emperor. Also, I will be performed in scenery 4 to 6 narratives.
Now this is an adaptation of The Emperor's New Clothes, but with some of the characters having psychological disorders. So let's take a look. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived an emperor. The kingdom he ruled over, Koguryu, was a prosperous one, for his father was Groreg the Great, conqueror of many. Under his rule, the kingdom's domain grew threefold, and became abundantly rich. Even the poorest serf ate like a king, and everyone lived lavishly. It was therefore to Groreg the Great's disappointment that his son Thorak failed to reach his heights. As a kid, Thorak was always restless, wound up and on edge, unable to properly focus on his father's teachings of battle plans and political games. It was not a lack of interest in rule that hindered Thorak, though he did find it deathly boring, but a pervasive underlying fretfulness that enveloped his whole life, even into his sleep. From Thorak's childhood diary, we capture this perspective of his daily experience.
I feel like I'm under threat, like my murderer is behind me, knife to my throat. He's not here, I know that, of course, but paradoxically, his shadow on my mind is always present.
Groreg the Great sought out some of the greatest therapists across the land, seeking to find a cure for his son's mental illness. In those days of yore, mental health was a little understood science. The great perspectives of psychology we now know were then budding fields developed by pioneers cobbling together their theories in their spare time. However, there was a central hub of psychological development, a mecca of sorts of therapy, found in the Mukango region. There, Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, pioneers of the humanistic perspective, built a great school of psychology. At Mukango, Groreg the Great found a prodigy student of Rogers called Choi Moon-ho. Dr. Moon-ho learned from humanistic teachings, but he developed a new approach, the cognitive perspective, and invented cognitive behavioral therapy. Moon-ho agreed to return with Groreg the Great to treat Thorak. However, on their way back to the kingdom, they were intercepted by enemy forces. Groreg the Great held off the elements, protecting Moon-ho, but in the process, he was brutally mashed by a machete. Moon-ho identified that Groreg the Great's hippocampus was damaged, and when he arose from unconsciousness, he had anterograde amnesia, constantly forgetting their goal on the way back to the kingdom. A few days after they arrived, Groreg the Great died. Choi Moon-ho barely escaped with his life and felt greatly indebted to Groreg the Great. Thus, he decided to dedicate his life to helping Thorak. He diagnosed Thorak with general anxiety disorder and scheduled to meet with him for therapy every day. Thorak was grateful for Moon-ho's support, for his father's death and his sudden unwanted responsibility to rule the kingdom worsened his already heightened anxiety. During one of their therapy sessions, Moon-ho said, "I'm hearing that you feel intense fear for how you can rule the kingdom. You worry if you'll lead the kingdom to its collapse. I empathize with your situation."
But you understand that the fear compounds, it festers, and it does not leave. Day on day, it has been growing. With every piece of legislation I have to sign for, with every plan I have to approve.
I hear your concerns, and they are valid. But think of your anxieties like leaves flowing by on a windy day. When they enter your mind, let them float by. I know you are capable of it. Shift your mind to more cheerful topics. Say, tell me about some of your hobbies.
I have always been fascinated by fashion and design. I appreciate the artistry in a well-tailored outfit and the subtle way colors can interact with each other. I think it's more than just clothing for me. It's about the expression and creativity. Clothes can tell the story, reflect the identity, and can even inspire change.
Oh, it is clear, King, that you really love fashion. See, your crown has fallen off in your speech. But see how your passions can redirect your worries? Explore your interest in fashion. Before you can serve the city, you must be able to serve yourself. Thorak took Moonho's advice to heart and abandoned his management of the city to explore his passion for fashion. He brought the best weavers and designers from across the land and held weekly fashion parades around the city. The ship of state, however, left a cruise without a sailor at its helm, soon began to enter rough waters.
Scene 2.
Two stitchers arrived one day, carrying with them a dainty little handheld loom. At the palace gates, they asked the honorable king, stating that they bring the out-of-the-world fashion opportunities. Thorak was intrigued and directed them to meet with him in his throne room. Your Royal Highness, we greet you humbly today to present to you our finest clothing offerings. We are Wang and Wang, brothers and inventors of the invisible thread. It is a thread of delightful character, such that only the wise may be able to see it. And it is... Webb began to scream, the best there ever was! Bow down to us, king, for we are gods among men, having synthesized the material more precious than the elixir of the gods. Two soldiers stepped forth and began to seize Webb for his imprudence. Pardon my brother, your highness, for he suffers from bipolar disorder. He is not himself, my dear sir, cried Veep.
Stand back, soldiers!
Commanded Thorak.
I understand, for I suffer myself from general anxiety disorder. You were saying you have a thread only visible to wise? Where is it? I shall like to see the sample.
Indeed, honorable emperor, observe this thread hanging from my handheld loom. Each thread here is refined from the purest of gold, created with the utmost of craft. Minister Peter, mindful of maintaining his reputation as an intelligent advisor, promptly exclaimed,
What a beautiful thread you have there, craftsman, and how marvelous it is that I have the intellect to behold it.
Thorak frowned and began to panic because he could not see any thread at all.
Quick, what do I do?
He thought.
The city will see me as a fool now, an idiot. There will be the royalty and I will be overthrown. Oh!
Before collapsing in pure despair, Thorak saw light at the end of his spiraling tunnel of fear. He reached out for it and blurted out a lie.
My good craftsman, this is indeed a great thread that you have made there. Our court shall order as much as you can make. The bank shall provide you with as much as gold you require, as long as you need to work on creating the greatest suit for myself. Out of that magnificent material, you shall be treated with the greatest honor within our kingdom. And I will assign my personal therapist, Moonho, to assist with Wang's bipolar disorder. Minister Peter, take the man and find him a room where they may loom in comfort. Announce to the city a grand parade where I shall adorn my new clothes for all to see.
And so Webb and Veep moved into the palace. They set up their workspace in one of the grand halls and immediately began requesting for crates upon crates of gold. They wove and they spun, or at least they seemed to be doing so, but their looms always seemed empty to Thorak.
Scene 3.
In the meantime, Thorak's minister, Peter, was struggling with his own challenges. Peter was a man of many faces, as he suffered from dissociative identity disorder. As a result, Peter was not always Peter, but a fiery woman who was quick to assert her opinion, and a young Penny, a timid and apprehensive boy. This made it hard for Thorak to hold a consistent dialogue with Peter, causing him to almost be fired. However, under the guidance of Moonho, Thorak learned to empathize with Peter's condition. One day, Moonho found Peter sitting in his office, worry clearly evident on his face. With a gentle nod, Moonho sat down across from Peter. Peter, Moonho began in a calm tone, you are unique. These altars, they each possess distinctive skills and knowledge. They are not a deficit, but your superpower. Peter looked up, his eyes welling up with tears from desperation.
But how can it be a stressful hall? They take over, they control me. It's a demon sucking up my soul and the dissociated amnesia. How can I live when my elders steal my memories?
Understandably, it may feel that way, Poe recognized, but let us consider this from a different perspective. Each of your altars are all equally a part of you, each a special identity carrying unique abilities. Instead of thinking of your altars as invaders on your life, consider them each as special qualities of yourself. Peter sighed.
You're right. They are a part of me, but it's hard to see past the fear and uncertainty.
I understand, Peter. To live with a disorder, it's a journey of acceptance, Moonho said, offering to reassure a smile. It may not be an easy journey, but I promise the grass is greener on the other side. Instead of fighting your altars, engage with them. Have a conversation. Understand their needs and fears. Through empathy and understanding, you can achieve harmony.
But what of the kingdom?
Peter questioned, his worries surfacing again.
What of Thorak? How can I help him when I can barely help myself?
Moonho nodded empathetically. Thorak, too, is on a journey of understanding. He is dealing with his anxieties, and he has made significant progress. His dedication to self-improvement is admirable, and he will return to government the kingdom soon. But now, Peter, your focus should be on understanding and accepting yourself. After you heal, you'll be better equipped to support Thorak and serve the kingdom.
It seems a Herculean task, Moonho. But you speak wise words, I think. I will strive to seek acceptance for my sake and the kingdom's.
Scene 4.
The two Desters soon requested a meeting with Thorak to showcase the process of their work. When Thorak entered the grand hall where Vap and Wang were working, Peter was at his side, except it wasn't Peter that day, but Petunia, the more audacious personality.
Your Highness, the masterpiece is half done. What do you think?
Said Vap, indicating towards the empty loom. Thorak, with a knock on his stomach, forced a smile. It's stunning, so detailed, so intricate! Peter, now Petunia, informed. I cannot see anything in pearl. Are you sure there is something here? Thorak sighed. Yes, Petunia, I see it. It's there, it's beautiful! Maybe my eyesight isn't as good as yours, Your Highness. Petunia conceived a tone of suspicion in her voice. As work on Thorak's new clothes moved forward, so did progress on Tremor Hall therapy sections with Wang. Moonho taught Wang ways to think and act that could stabilize his moods and give him a safe environment to express his emotional highs and lows. Remembering what he learned about the humanistic perspective, Moonho showed unconditioned positive regard for Wang, despite his unsudden, unpromoted shifts in emotion. And this gave Wang the confidence to learn to live with his condition. Over time, Wang's condition began to improve, but the fluctuations in his mood were still evident, leading to moments of extreme excitement followed by periods of intense low spirits.
Scene 5.
The day of parade soon came. Thorek had arranged for Wang and Wab to represent the clothes to him in his royal dressing room, where he had assembled all of his important officers to view the magnificent event. As he waited for Wang and Wab to enter, Thorek began to feel a sinking sense of dread and feel his body begin to tense up. No, he thought, I will not give in to my anxiety. Remember what Moonha said to be confident and let my fear flow past me like cliffs. Thorek found his confidence and approached Wab and Wab, who enters the room seemingly burdened by a heavy, invisible cloth. Wab seems invisibly dejected.
We are no good, my good emperor! The clothes are a disaster!
Cried Wab.
See here? There are terrible rips and tears all along the fabric. Look there! The patch there is missing.
Wab began pointing to random spots in the air, asking Thorek to comment on how terrible their product was. Thorek, meanwhile, could not see an inch of the clothes Wab was indicating, so he had to lie. I see what you find craftsmen are critical to your work, but you must take off your artisan lens to behold the magnificence of your creation. What to you are imperfections are in fact marvelous speculations, and I will not let you discount your work in such a demeaning manner. Are these clothes not the most spectacular you have ever seen, your sirs of court? A murmur of nervous agreement flowed from the crowd around him. But grew more confident as the officers began looking around and seeing the approval of their colleagues. Emburdened by the approval of his court, Thorek proclaimed, Then let I put on the marvelous garment and let us parade its splendor for the whole city. Thorek entered his dressing room with Wab and donned the invisible clothes. He felt exposed, vulnerable, and felt his anxiety build up again. He was terrified of his people's judgment, but as Moonha had advised, he decided to serve his own mind before serving. He remembered the breathing exercise Moonha taught him. One deep breath in, he thought, and one breathing out again. With renewed confidence, he stepped out before the cheering crowd in his new clothes, feeling both exhilaration and the terror at once. At first, the crowd grasped and each afraid of seeing a fool played among with the swindle of the weavers. Cries of wonder for the magnificence of the clothes rained down from passionate citizens across the city.
Oh, magnificent emperor! Great wonders could not be found in this world!
Cried Kudri, the great explorer.
I have traveled to lands far away and inspired the glories of the Titisum and the Kuwits. But no artifact I have witnessed in my wanderings usurps the beauty of your garments.
Yet among the wave of praise, a child voice heard.
Are you guys crazy? The emperor's not wearing anything!
The crowd fell into the deathly silence. It was just a moment pause, but to Thorek, it felt like a lifetime. The mortification was crashing. Then a wave of noise rose up in crowd again, but this time it was the sound of laughter. Thorek's worst fear has materialized, however surprisingly, he found himself laughing too. The absurdity of it all the clothes, his fear, his anxiety, everything seemed laughable in that moment. I'm not a genius, and I should not pretend to be, being too arrogant to admit and accept my own mistakes is truthfully. Thus, still wearing his new clothes, Thoric addressed the people.
Good people of Congruya, I speak to you today, humbled. I wish to speak to you candidly, and I suppose that such a garment is thus rather appropriate for the situation.
Laughter spread across. I remind you of the past glory days of Congruya,
Yet, I speak of this in the past tense, as I'm not too proud to admit that your courts, once well-oiled machines, have fell into this period. The brown-nosing officers echoes the misguided opinions of the emperor, and I speak deftly, sacred of critics. Groupthink plague your court, causing your government to lumber on irrationally. I say this not to demean your royal office, but to assure you that changes will be made. The first order of business is the selection of a new emperor. It can be quite visible, seeing that he said laughingly, I'm not fit for the job. I'm not my father. I don't share his interests and his talent, but I've tried to fill his shoes for the sake of the kingdom and the memory of his greatness. But I have learned that I just lack the intricate motivation that all good emperors need. I cannot rule, and today I see that I don't have to. A wave of shock passed over the crowd. Thoric took a deep breath, drawing upon the courage he had gained from his therapy session with Moonhall. He then turned the face to Moonhall, who stood to his side. People of Congruya, I present to you your new emperor, one who can lead you to a brighter future, one who understands the importance of mental health. Let me introduce you to Emperor Moonhall. This is for you, Moonhall. The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the kingdom. As applause subsides, Moonhall took a step forward.
I am deeply honored and moved by your trust in me, Emperor Thoric. And while I did not expect this turn of events, I pledge to serve Karuguru to the best of my abilities. I will strive to build a kingdom where every citizen's mental health is valued and taken care of, where we can all thrive, not in spite of, but with our unique psychological makeup. Together, we will create a kingdom where everyone feels seen and heard. Thank you.
As Moonhall finished his address, the crowd erupted into cheers once again. Yeah! Thoric smiled to his successor, gratefully to have such a compassionate and understanding friend. Scene 6. Thus, Moonhall took the throne and led Congruya to a brighter future. He established mental health awareness programs and hired therapists under his rule. The people of Congruya flourished, their mental health being prioritized along their physical health. The kingdom of Congruya entered a golden age, as it was under Georgia the Great's rule. As for Thoric, he pursued his passion for fashion, designing exquisite clothing for the kingdom. He worked on coping with his general and anxiety disorder, and learned to live alongside his beautiful mind.
The end.
Thank you.
Thank you.